So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Here, get back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Tuesday, February 8th. Hopefully everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day. Yesterday, it is in fact Tuesday, February 8th here today, coming off another night last night in sports with a lot of exciting and crazy college basketball games last night that went on. I was able to catch the last part of the Duke-Virginia game, which was excellent. Really good game. Virginia played really well. Was able to hit some clutch threes late. Duke was able to get on a run late, made things interesting, did things that Duke usually does. But in the end of it, Virginia was able to come out on top. Virginia was able to get the win. And last night, Virginia getting that win puts themselves in a position now to possibly contend for the tournament and possibly not have to win out in the ACC. Maybe they get a last seed, a late bid into the March Madness, which will be coming right around the corner. Before you know it, we'll have March Madness and all that craziness right around the corner. So that game was crazy. You had the big three late. Virginia beats Duke. Then Texas beats Kansas by 3. So I think that game was like 79-76. This game was, 69-68. So really some wild games. Virginia hitting the dagger with, 1.1 left. Then Paolo Banchero from Duke trying to hit a final three with 1.1 left. Wasn't even close to going in. And Virginia comes out with the win. Professional basketball, on the other hand, wasn't great for the New York Knicks. They blow yet another double-digit lead. Took a 12-point lead in the third quarter. Ended up blowing it, and they go into the fourth quarter, and they lose. They blow it. 12-point lead in the third quarter, and they blow it late. They lose. And yet again, it's one of these head-scratching games if you're the Knicks. If you're Tom Thibodeau, if you are a Knicks fan, it's one of these head-scratching games that says, look, trades are going down in the NBA. Things are starting to happen. Let's step up and do something, because clearly what we have in place right now isn't working. And last night, yet again, with a 113-104 loss, this time at the hands of the Utah Jazz, figure something out, because as they continue to lose like they are, there's something wrong. There's something that needs to be fixed. And the trade deadline's tomorrow. Moves are happening today. Will the Knicks step up and do anything? They'll have a second half of back-to-back tonight in Denver. Nets are back in action tonight after hopefully what was a much-needed day off yesterday. For my own mental sake, a much-needed day off yesterday, having to not watch that team lose yet again. Tonight, no James Harden. Kevin Durant has been out, obviously, as we know, and Kyrie doesn't play home games. So, big three's out, and playing against a Celtics team that's playing really good, probably playing their best basketball of the season. So, my confidence level is extremely low tonight. They're on TNT. They're on national television. So, if you're interested in watching the Nets probably lose their 9th straight game, that game will be on TNT. So, Nets on tonight, Knicks on tonight. New York basketball, I assume, continues to lose. I don't see the Nets winning tonight. I hope I'm wrong. But their big three's out. They're missing pieces. Celtics team that's probably playing their best basketball of the year right now. In the midst of an 8-game losing streak, it just doesn't match up. We'll see. So Nets, Knicks on tonight, like I mentioned past couple days. Rangers and Islanders continue their All-Star breaks, and Kentucky as well is on tonight, ESPN 7 Eastern on ESPN against South Carolina on the road. So again, right, South Carolina, road game, Tuesday night, coming off a big win in Alabama against a Bama team that's is odd, but a good team. SEC opponent, take care of business, right, and move on. When you're a 5th-ranked team in the nation, as long as you just take care of business and win games, you'll be good. So, Kentucky tonight as well against South Carolina. All right, so let's get to the topics for today's podcast. Going to be a 2-topic day, probably about a 45 to 50-minute video. I've gotten a lot of really positive reviews about the short videos, so I plan on for the future now to make these videos like this and make these quicker 30 to 40-minute videos. Today's probably going to expand a little bit, maybe into 45 to 50 minutes. I like it this way. I think personally, for my own sake, it's better this way. I think I get a lot across in a shorter amount of time, get to the point, talk about it. Because I listened over my podcast yesterday. I was listening, and I was able to get to the point quicker. I was able to, really just get to the point, talk about the Bengals instead of having all these other things I talk about. I was able to get to it. So I figured I thought that was good, and I'm going to continue that. So today's going to probably be a shorter, also due to timing anyway today. I probably wouldn't be able to fit in an hour and 20-minute video, so I'm only going to probably do about a 40 to 45-minute video today, and we're going to, like I said, this is second day of our Super Bowl week overview, so today's the Rams offensive overview, and tomorrow will be Bengals defense, Thursday will be Rams defense. So yesterday, if you want to check that video out, it was the Bengals offensive overview. Today is the Rams offensive overview. Tomorrow will be Bengals defensive overview. And Thursday will be Rams defensive overview. And then Friday will be my game pick. And Sunday, as we all know, is where the madness all happens. So we'll get to the Rams offensive overview today. Give you the numbers. Give you all you need to know. Same thing I did yesterday for the Bengals. This time it's with the Rams. We'll also get to the NBA trade deadline and the updates. A lot of big moves went on today. We've already gotten word that a couple days ago on Sunday, Karis LeVert got traded to the Pacers. Or I apologize. Pacers traded Karis LeVert to the Cavs. So LeVert and Jared Allen meet up in Cleveland. Today we also got word that Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson are on their way to the Pacers. And Sabonis is on his way to the Kings. So a big 6-player trade between the Kings and the Pacers. We also got word today that CJ McCollum, with all the rumors of the Knicks and some of these other teams and Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum's on his way to the Pelicans with Larry Nance Jr. in exchange for Josh Hart's in there, Alexander's in there, and another guy's in there as well. And a couple picks are thrown in that deal as well. So we'll get to both those deals, talk about them, break them down a little bit, kind of give you a little bit maybe of just some rumors and some stuff floating around the Knicks and the Nets. With McCollum off the board, that's kind of big for the Knicks because they were rumored to possibly look at him. Not going to happen. What's going to happen with James Harden? What's going to happen? Today's Tuesday, trade deadline's Thursday, so a lot going on, and come Thursday, will James Harden be a Brooklyn Net? That's the big question. So we'll see how everything plays out. Alrighty, so with all that being said, a lot to get to today on the video, and a lot to get to today on the podcast. Like I say, Rams offensive overview, NBA trade deadline. We'll also get to the Nets and the Knicks, and then we'll get to the New York sports update. Like I said, Nets, Knicks back in action tonight. Nets fresh off a day off. They'll host the Celtics back at Barclays for a quick home game before they head on the road for another 2 games. Knicks continue their West Coast road trip tonight, second half of back-to-back. Lost last night in Utah against the Jazz. Back in action tonight in Denver against the Nuggets. So we'll see how all that goes. Kentucky as well in South Carolina against the Gamecocks. Alrighty, so with all that being said, a lot to get to today on the podcast. This is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. Alrighty, so like I said, yesterday I did the Bengals offensive overview. It is Super Bowl week. I know some people don't like talking about the Super Bowl on Monday. I know some people just like talking about it on Thursday, Friday. I know I said yesterday that I was planning on talking about it on Wednesday, Thursday, then do my stuff on Friday, but I figured, why do that when I could spend more time on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday about each team instead of trying to rush each team in on Monday and on Wednesday and Thursday and then doing my picks on Friday. So I figured today, I figured Monday through Thursday do the overviews, and then Friday all the numbers, put them all together, give you my pick, give you what I think, and then Sunday we'll see how it all happens, and Monday we'll react to it. So this time next week we'll have a champion. This time next week these numbers might mean nothing, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Talk about each team. You know the drill. I did it yesterday. Same thing today, except today it's the Rams. Tomorrow we'll be back with the Bengals in defense. Thursday will be the Rams in the defense, and so on and so forth. So Rams, Bengals, as we all know. Yesterday, like I said, talked about the Bengals. So let's get to the Rams, right? Rams, another team. High-powered offense. Both these offenses going into this game are very high-powered. Bengals high-powered offense, like I mentioned yesterday. If you want to go watch that video, I posted it yesterday. If you're interested, Bengals, very high-powered offense with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, CJ Uzomah. I know, he's questionable for the game and there's a possibility he might not play, but if he's in there, he's a big factor. And if he's not out there, that's a big loss, especially for Burrow and a pass rush. If you're looking for some of the short throws just to get going in the game, Uzomah's one of those safety blanket type players. If he's out, that's definitely a big key and a big factor to this game. Both tight ends, actually, Higbee and Uzomah, are both questionable. I know Higbee, they are expecting him to play. Uzomah's not so, there's not as much positivity around Uzomah, but we're still a couple days, we're still a good amount, we're still 5 days away from the game, so there's not a crazy amount of optimism around Uzomah yet, but we're still, like I said, 5 days away, however you want to say, a couple days away still. Higbee, there's more optimism. So you look at the Bengals offense, high-powering offense with Joe Burrow, really good quarterback, really solid running back. Offense line, that's not great, but you have, 3 really good receivers, and you have a tight end. And, I guess you could always say this about every Super Bowl. When you truly say the 2 best teams and the 2 most complete teams in the NFL meet, this is kind of what the Super Bowl is all about. Because when you look at the Rams offense, it's like they've got a really good receiving core. They've got a really solid running back. Their offensive line's actually better than the Bengals, and their tight end's really solid. And the expectation is he's going to play. So we're going to play it like Higbee plays. You have Matthew Stafford. You have Cam Akers, who tore his Achilles, came back for the postseason. So you got Stafford. You got a really good running back in Cam Akers. You have 2 really good receivers and 1 receiver that is a big play, waiting, but not as much throws to him. The Rams, I would say, don't spread the ball out as much as the Bengals do. Burrow really gets it to Higgins. He's really worked Tyler Boyd. He's really gotten the ball to Jamar Chase, especially in the postseason, and the stats show that. Rams, on the other hand, do a whole lot more Beckham, Cooper Kupp, and then they complement, they bring Higbee, and they'll get Van Jefferson involved a little bit as well. So, a little bit of different there, because, you kind of look at, the receiving, and so far in the postseason, it's been the 3 receivers. That's really all it's been. It's been Van Jefferson, it's been Cooper Kupp, and it's been Odell Beckham. It hasn't really been anyone else. It hasn't really been anyone else getting involved. And for tight end, it's been, Tyler Higbee and I believe, Kendall Blanton, I think his name was, who came in against the Niners last week. Kendall Blanton. Just wanted to make sure I was correct. So Kendall Blanton also came in, the backup tight end, actually had a solid game, 5 catches for 58 yards. So, solid tight end Higbee, 2 really good receivers, another receiver that's solid, doesn't get as much attention, but when he's out there, if you focus too much on Beckham and Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson's more than capable of having a big game. And we've seen that early on in his short career. This is only his 2nd season. Add Higbee, add Cam Akers, who I know has been injured for most of the season and came into the postseason, but add him to the mix. Another really solid asset. I know he had the fumble against the Buccaneers, and a lot of people remember that. A lot of people are talking about that, but outside of that, it's been really good. And for a team that's kind of had a running carousel at quarterback, Dale Henderson, Sony Michel. Now you bring, Cam Akers is back. Kind of had a much more, each offense has kind of got their own thing. For the Bengals, it's their offensive line. It's just bad, not great. For the Rams this season, their running back's been a little consistent just due to all the injuries and stuff like that. And guys in, guys out. This guy's in, this guy's out. This guy's playing, this guy's not. So Cam Akers finally have that staple. So you look at the keys, and it's Stafford, obviously, who's had a great year. It really just goes to show us all how bad the Lions really are and how much he was held back there. So Stafford, Cam Akers, who I think is one of the better backs in the league when he's healthy, one of the better dual threat backs, really good out of the backfield, can rush really well, so young in his career. He's got so much talent. He's just got to really just break through. We haven't seen that just yet, just because, the injury this season, tearing your Achilles, doesn't help that. He's still young, so he's still learning. Next season, I could see a huge year from Cam Akers. So Akers, Stafford, 2 really good solid receivers. Cooper Kupp, who had one of the best seasons we've ever seen in a receiver in NFL history. You add that, like I said, Van Jefferson, guy to, if all the attention's faced on Cooper Kupp, Jefferson can take over in games. Higbee as well, and a veteran and a solid offense line as well. So really a complete offense similar to what the Bengals are working with in Cincinnati. So let's get to some of the rankings here. As I did yesterday, I did regular season team rankings, postseason team rankings. Then I did regular season team leaders and postseason team leaders as well. So I'll give you the regular season, all that stuff. I did it yesterday. Same thing here. Rankings obviously a little different. But anyway, here we go. All right, so Rams offensive overview, regular season team totals, yards per game, and all that good stuff. So total, they were the ninth ranked offense in the NFL this season. Passing, they were 5th in the league. Rushing, they were 25th in the league. Receiving, they were 5th. And if you look at the Bengals, total, they were 13th. Passing, they were 7th. Rushing, they were 23rd. Receiving, they were 7th. So slightly behind in total offense. Passing's very close. Rushing's close. They're very similar. Receiving's very close. So the biggest separation is 4. That's the total offense. Bengals were total this season 13th. Rams are 9th. So very similar. Both teams, again, heavily pass. Bengals heavily run. Rams heavily run as well. Bengals are slightly better in the run game than the Rams are. Yards per game, 372.1. Pass yards per game, 273.1. Rushing yards per game at 99 on the dot. Receiving yards per game at 287.8. And points per game, 27.1. So if you look at this, it's very similar too. Yards per game for the Bengals, 361.5. Yards per game for the Rams, 372.1. So similar. Pass yards per game for the Bengals, 259. Pass yards for the game for each game for the Rams, 273.1. Similar. Rush yards, 99 for the Rams, 102 for the Bengals, and 27. They both are averaging 27.1 points. So you're talking about trying to pick this game and see who's going to win. They both average the same amount of points. So it's technically lining up to say they're both going to score 27 points because that's their average. So close when it comes to the numbers. And you look at the offense too. Like 372 yards. That's unbelievable. I mean, you put up almost 400 yards about every game. That's going to win you games. That's going to get you in the postseason. That's why they're in the Super Bowl. Let's look at their postseason team stats. Now, I talked about this yesterday. And I'm going to touch upon it again just to make this clear. If you are going off of this in terms of just, wanting to know, numbers, or maybe if you're going to dictate your game pick and stuff like this off of this, the postseason numbers are a little different because, teams have all played different amount of games. Some teams played 1 game, some teams played 2 games. Rams and Bengals, as we all know, have played all 3. Some other teams have played 3. They're going to play 4. So it's tough to say the rankings because I mentioned this yesterday. When you play different amount of games, your average is going to be all over the place compared to all the teams playing 17 in the regular season. So I'm putting an asterisk, like I said, next to these totals. Take it, whatever you want to do with it. Take it and run with it. Take it with a grain of salt. However you want to say, do it. Like I said yesterday, I'm going to say the same thing today. Because it's tough to say because where they really rank against some of these other teams is tough because some of these other teams have played all these games. I've played only 1 game, and here the Rams and Bengals are playing all 3. So it's tough sometimes because teams have all played different games. So anyway, postseason team. Total, they are the 3rd ranked. Total overall in offense, they're 3rd. Passing, they're 3rd. Rushing, they're 7th. And receiving, they're 3rd. So pretty much they're top 5 in almost every category. Top 3 in almost every category except rushing. And again, that's their only weakness. And same thing with the Bengals. Both of them, that's, I guess you would say, their weakness. Again, rushing 7th. But passing, receiving, and passing, total, and receiving, all up there, top 3, right at 3rd. Yards per game in the playoffs, 399.7. So round it up, that's 400 yards a game. I mean, that's out of this world crazy. Passing yards per game, 305.3. Rush yards per game down a little bit to 94.3. Receiving yards per game at 315. And points per game up at 28. So just look at how much better they've gone in the postseason. Yards per game, 399. Regular season, 372. Pass yards per game in the postseason, 305.3. Regular season, 273.1. Rush yards, better in the regular season by 5 yards, 99 to 94.3. Receiving yards in the postseason, 315. Receiving yards, 287.8 in the regular season. And they're averaging 28 points, and they're averaging 27.1 in the regular season. So just about 1 point extra. And like I said, it's tough to say because they've only played 3 games. Regular season, they played 17. So you're going to have maybe those stretches, but still, it just goes to show you how good they've been. And their defense has been really good, and their offense has been even better. So it really just a very dynamic team you're looking at here with the Rams. So those are that. Total 3rd, passing 3rd, rushing 7th, receiving 3rd. And then 399 yards per game, passing yards 305.3, rushing yards per game 94.3, receiving yards per game 315, and points per game 28.0 on the dot. So those are your postseason team overall numbers. Now let's look at the regular season and postseason team leaders. So your regular season team leaders are passing yards is Matthew Stafford, 4,886 passing yards this season, and he averages 289.9 per game. So again, another guy all the way up there in the 4,800s. Joe Burrow had 4,611. He's got 4,886, so two higher-powered quarterbacks. Stafford in his career with the Lions has been an average quarterback, goes to the Rams, blows up, and has been great, and the numbers show that. Almost 300 passing yards a game. Rushing yards in the regular season, this just goes to show you how crazy their running, backs were. Sony Michel led the team in rushing yards, and he didn't even crack 900. 845 rushing yards in the regular season, and an average of 49.7 per game. So not a rush-heavy team, a team that rushing is their weakness, and passing and Cooper Kupp and utilizing their receivers is their strengths. Receiving yards is, leads the league, second all-time in a season for a receiver. That's Cooper Kupp. 1,947 receiving yards this season, and that's an average of 114.5 a game. Just think about that. If you can get a receiver that gets you over 100 yards receiving a game, a quarterback, all of a sudden that puts you in position to automatically win. Because let's say other receivers get you about, another 150, 200 combined. That's 300 yards for a quarterback. And that's why Stafford has been so good, 289.9 per game. And that's why he's almost averaging 300 yards, and Cooper Kupp's been a big part of that. 114 yards per game at receiver. Let that sink in a second. Some receivers are lucky if they can get, 90 yards a game. He's cracking way over 100 every single game. That's his average. And like I mentioned a little bit already today, Cooper Kupp's second most receiving yards all time, single season record is Calvin Johnson. In, I believe, 2012, he had 1,964 yards. Cooper Kupp this season, 1,947. Calvin Johnson, 1,964. So slightly, the slightest bit over Cooper Kupp. As I do the math here, that is 17 more yards, right? 60, 64, 47. So only 17 more yards. So Cooper Kupp is the second most in the league all time in receiving yards in a single season. Calvin Johnson holds the record by a slim 17 yards. So definitely a career for Cooper Kupp, and definitely on his way to being the MVP candidate, and definitely on his way to winning Offensive Player of the Year. So postseason team leaders, pretty much the same. Passing yards, as we all know, obviously Matthew Stafford, 905 passing yards in postseason so far, 313.7. So come Super Bowl, unless if he really gets shut out by the Bengals defense, he'll be on his way to surpassing 1,000 yards in the postseason. Rushing yards is Cam Akers, so this time not Sony Michel, it's Cam Akers, 151 rushing yards in the postseason. That's an average of 50.3 a game. And receiving yards is obviously Cooper Kupp. 386 receiving yards total, and he's averaging 128.7 per game. So almost 130 yards receiving per game for Cooper Kupp. If that doesn't tell you how good he's been this season, then I don't really know what will. And this just, I think, is crazy. Cooper Kupp, 386 yards, 128.7 is obviously the average. He leads the team. Next closest is Odell Beckham, OBJ, who has 236 receiving yards this postseason and an average of 78.7 a game. So he hasn't even cracked 80 a game. Here, Cooper Kupp is 128. So it just goes to show you how much they rely on Cooper Kupp and how good Cooper Kupp's been this season. You look at the Bengals, and you look how much more balanced it is. Two 200-yard receivers. Jamar Chase, 279. Next up's T. Higgins, 209. Cooper Kupp blows him out of the water by a full 100. More than 100. 150 to be exact. And here, Jamar Chase only has 70 more receiving yards than the second leading receiver. So, Chase has been great. Cooper Kupp's been great. So you look at it, and it just shows you, not only does this show us all that how big of a impact Cooper Kupp makes, but it just goes to show us all and the Bengals how much of a importance it is that they need to shut down Kupp, or not shut him down completely. I mean, that would be the goal. I don't think you're going to do it, but it just goes to show you how hard it's going to be and how much you really need to contain him somewhat. You don't, and he might still go off for 100 yards, but it can't be one of these 250-yard performances, 3 touchdowns. You can't get lit up. Because these other teams have been getting lit up. These other teams have had, you go back to, I recall the Rams-Buccaneers game and that big catch by Kupp, that great throw by, those are the type of things that, are really, 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 really big. If you're the Bengals and if you want to win, you need to find a way to stop Cooper Kupp. So, Cooper Kupp's been great this season, continues to be great, and we continuously see how good he's been, and his stats show it. So those are your regular season team numbers, postseason team numbers, and regular season team leaders and postseason team leaders. So Bengals, Rams, officially done. Really wild that those two flew by. Like I remember Sunday, I was thinking about it, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be a lot of talking about it. And here we are, boom, done with the offense. So coming out of the offense here, just to kind of leave you on this final note. Then I'm gonna get to the the NBA trade deadline and stuff like that. And all the craziness and drama going around in the NBA and surrounding the Nets and the Knicks. But just to kind of conclude here, and I'll touch back on Friday about all this stuff, and kind of combine everything together and give you my pick, and give you my closing thoughts on the games as we head into Sunday. These all these stats and all these numbers I'm showing you, it can only mean so much, as we all know. But when you really watch these teams play, and you really watch the Bengals and the Rams offense, and you really watch how pass heavy they are, it cannot be stressed enough how big it is for each of the team's secondaries to find a way to contain some of the receivers. Like Jalen Ramsey and that Rams secondary needs to find a way to contain Jamar Chase. Because if you don't contain him, plus you add, the other two receivers, Higgins and Boyd, and plus if, maybe if Uzama plays, which, might not be as likely, but if he does somehow, they're gonna have a field day, and they've shown that many times throughout this season. And for the for the Bengals, I think it's even bigger of a factor. You need to stop Cooper Kupp. If you don't stop Cooper Kupp, this guy's gonna run all over you, and you're gonna get blown out. So really looking at these numbers, and when I was even writing them down the past 2 days, I sit in there, you're just thinking how big, this, I think this Super Bowl is going to be won or lost depending on how your secondary does. Because neither of these teams have a great run game. I mean, Mixon's a good running back, but look at the offense line he's working with. And, the Rams are just a heavy pass team. Cam Akers is very good, but coming off a torn Achilles, they're not going to make him run the ball 35 times. And when you have Stafford and Cooper Kupp and guys like that in the passing game, you don't really need to run the ball 35 times a game anyway. And same thing for the Bengals. So I think this might be a hot take. Maybe it's a hot take because maybe you think it's going to be the quarterback play. And I totally agree, but it all kind of combines within each other. I think one of the biggest keys, if you want to win this Super Bowl for both teams, both the Bengals and the Rams, is how each secondary plays. Can Jalen Ramsey find a way to contain Jamar Chase? Can whoever it is on Cooper Kupp? Because it might be one of those things where it's trial and error. If you find a guy early in the game, you put a guy on him and it's not working, you put somebody else on him, the next drive, and maybe they find a way it's working, then you hold that. But it's gonna be interesting. It really is. And it's really whoever dominates the pass game. And for the Rams, it's even more key. You got to get pressure on Burrow. Because if you don't get pressure on Burrow and he's all the time and your secondary is not playing up to their ability, Ramsey's not playing like Jalen Ramsey, it's going to be a long night. And that could be said for both teams. So pressure on the quarterback, secondary coming up big, definitely key, especially when you look at the numbers for both teams, receiving cores and quarterbacks. So that's what I got for the Rams offensive overview. Yesterday I did the Bengals, today was the Rams, so that will conclude the offensive overviews for each of the Super Bowl teams. And as I mentioned, tomorrow we'll do the Bengals defensive overview, and then Thursday we will do the Rams defensive overview, and then Friday, as I've said many times already, will be my game pick. And then we head into the weekend and all the Super Bowl craziness. So that is what's coming up. I don't know exactly what stats I'm going to use for defense. I plan on probably using definitely total passing defense, rushing defense probably. It's a little harder with the defense because there's really no such thing as receiving defense. I guess I could break down the corners and stuff, but I think I was going to do, total defense overall, rushing defense, passing defense, and then do maybe sacks, tackles, interceptions maybe, team leaders in sacks, interceptions, tackles, kind of the big keys there. Still trying to figure that out, what exactly I want to do. Offense is definitely easier, I would say. So, still trying to figure that out, but defense will start up tomorrow with the Bengals and then the Rams on Thursday. All right, so that's what I got for the Rams offensive overview. Coming up next, I'm going to get to the craziness around the NBA. Trades are going down. Today is Tuesday. Trade deadline is Thursday. A lot of craziness going down today. I expect more tomorrow and into Thursday. And there's one big question with the Brooklyn Nets. Is James Harden going to be traded? I really do not know. I'll give you everything kind of up to the minute stuff on him. And also, one of the trades that went down involving the Portland Trail Blazers, why I think this says something big about one specific player and where an organization is headed. Coming up next. All right, so we welcome you back here up on the BSN program here today, Tuesday, February 8th, Tuesday of Super Bowl week. Super excited for that. Just got done with the Rams offensive overview. And now we're going to get into some craziness revolving around the NBA. And this happens in every sport, MLB, NHL, and NBA, and NFL. I was going to say NFL because we're talking about the NBA now. Whenever it's trade deadline. And it is trade season. It is trade deadline season for the NBA. And already some craziness has gone on. Already some trades that are really shocking the NBA world. Some moves that people don't get. One specific move I think the Kings made, very dumb. Doesn't make any sense to me, and I'll give you kind of my little bit of reasoning on that coming up and why I think that truly the Pacers won the trade. And I really don't think it's by much. I mean, I know the Kings gets a bonus, but there's one key player in that trade, Halliburton, that why would you trade a guy that young when you're going through a rebuild for a guy Sabonis who's been in the league for a little while and might not really be the future. It's kind of interesting. I mean, I think Sabonis is a really good player, but in a guy in his second year that's playing at a high level and one of the better players that we've seen come out of that draft last season, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's kind of perplexing. It really is. To see a guy like Halliburton get moved when the Kings are going through rebuild and trying to build with youth and trying to build for the future, moving one of your best pieces in his second season is just so perplexing. And it's not like he's played bad. He's played very good. He's been very good. So to move on from him, it just doesn't really make sense. And I know you bring in Sabonis and stuff like that, but like these teams always talk about like trying to build youth, trying to build for the future. And you do that by bringing in young guys. You do that by drafting players. You do that by, tearing it all up, getting lottery picks, bringing in guys. And, have a guy that last season played at a very high level, and again this year getting more minutes, actually averaging more points, a little bit more assists, a little bit more rebounds, more assists, field goal percentage slightly down, but for a guy that's shown improvements and continuing to show progress, 51 games in the season, very reliable, has been healthy early on in his career. To move on from him when you're going through rebuild and you're trying to build with youth just makes no sense to me. And for the Pacers, well, guess what? You get Pacers kind of in that move of we're going to move towards the future. They got rid of Sabonis, right? Now you bring in Buddy Hield, you bring in Tyrese Halliburton, and now you also bring in Tristan Thompson, who's expected to get bought out, which the Nets could possibly look at that as a guy who can get rebounds. Not a huge fan of his. Like, I don't really like Tristan Thompson. I think he's a little cocky. I think he says a lot for being an average player. I would tell you that. But a guy big who can get rebounds. And the reports are that the Pacers plan on buying him out. And, the Kings get Sabonis, who's a big, who can score, who can shoot, who can get boards. He can do a lot. He's a dual threat big. He's a guy who could do a lot. And don't get me wrong, he's a very good player. But what's perplexing to me, and when I saw this trade go down, I know the rumors have been out there, but you always see those rumors. Like, you always see, Zion. We've seen the Zion rumors for so long now of him going to the Knicks. And it's because the NBA wants that to happen. Sometimes these people have these rumors and these rumors come out and these possibilities come out because it's good for the league. Like, craziness like this is good for the league. To see trades like this is good for the league. Like, for me, I got to talk about it. It's good for me because I got to talk about it and I got to share my opinion on it. It's good for the league because it gets people all caught up, gets people talking about it, gets people interested. Oh, how's this team going to do? What is he going to do there? Zion to the Knicks would be a huge story. One of the best prospects we've ever seen come out of college play for one of the biggest organizations in sports. And his run in New Orleans has been a little choppy. So to come out, of New Orleans to go to the Knicks, that's all been happening. I know Halliburton, that's been happening. But when the Kings keep stressing, oh, we're going for a rebuild, we're building with youth, and we're doing this, we're doing that. And yet you bring in and yet you trade Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox might be on the chopping block too. Like, So what are we doing here? You're going to get rid of all your youth and bring in what? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So the Pacers get a really good player in Halliburton and a team that's looking more towards the future. They can build for the future, and make no mistake, Pacers are losing a tough, really good player in Sabonis, and the Kings are gaining somebody in Sabonis. But I don't know if I would have given up Halliburton and Buddy Hield for Sabonis. I think Justin Holiday was also in that deal, and it was, I could read you the whole deal here. It was Miles Turner's still an Indiana Pacer, which is which is interesting because he's been a guy that's definitely been, reported in some deals. So Pacers trade Sabonis, Justin Holiday, and Jeremy Lamb to the Kings, and the Kings receive Sabonis. I'm sorry. Pacers trade Sabonis, Justin Holiday, and Jeremy Lamb to the Kings, and the Pacers receive Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. So the Pacers get Halliburton, Hield, and Tristan Thompson, and the Kings get Sabonis, Justin Holiday, and Jeremy Lamb. Holiday, good defender. Sabonis, all-around good player. Lamb, kind of just another guy you said, I'm throwing him in the deal. And for the Pacers, they're getting Halliburton, who I think is a rising star, is going to have a really good career. Hield, who's having a little bit of a down year, has always been kind of an average player in his career, but a guy who can nail down some shots, play some defense. Not terrible. I mean, he's not great. Not going to put up 45 a night. He's kind of a lower teen guy, 15, 16 points a night. Maybe come off the bench, maybe start, kind of get you some points, spread the ball a little bit, a little bit of a 3-and-D type, like not anybody special. And then Tristan Thompson, they're expected to buy out. But the big name I see is Halliburton and Sabonis as well. So you kind of look at that trade as a big one. I just don't really get where the Kings are going with this. You trade a guy like Halliburton. Sabonis is good, and you get a defender in Holiday, and I get that. But I don't know, even if they really wanted Sabonis, I would have passed up on this if it meant, even if they said, we don't want to trade Halliburton, and the Pacers said, we're not making the deal unless if you trade us Halliburton, I would not have made the deal. Halliburton, to build around him for the future, I think the Pacers win this trade. And there was a poll that went out about it, and 75.1K fans have voted about it. 65% of people in the Pacers win this trade. I think it's pretty obvious the Pacers win it. They get some youth. They get a little bit veteran with Buddy Hield. They get some, and it fits their plan too. Like where are the Kings headed? Where are the Kings really headed now? Like they kind of just gave up. You could say their best young guy. Rumors about Fox getting moved. Where are they headed? So that was definitely a big move. There's also some other move. Bradley Beal done for the season, which is definitely interesting. Wrist injury. So not only does it hurt the possibility of a team going out and trading for him, but it really hurts the Wizards. And you now look at a Wizards team that's, done pretty well this season, hasn't been great, but have kept their head above water. This could be a team that maybe starts to sink a little bit. And maybe a team that starts to look more towards a rebuild and tearing it up if Beal does decide to go elsewhere in free agency. It also ends all speculation of him going somewhere else because his season's over. Another trade that happened today was the CJ McCollum to the Pistons, or I apologize, the Pelicans. 80.6 thousand fans have voted about this, and Pelicans 84% chance. 84. I apologize. 84% of people think the Pelicans won this trade. So for this trade, Pelicans are acquiring the Blazers guard. In exchange for Josh Hart, Alexander, I forget the guy's full name. It is Nickeil Walker-Alexander and Didi. So it's the Blazers get Josh Hart, Thomas Satoransky, Nickeil Walker-Alexander, Didi Lozada, 2022 protected first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, and the Pelicans get CJ McCollum, Larry Nance, and Tony Snell. And for the Pelicans, this trade speaks to me that they already have Brandon Ingram. You already have CJ McCollum. I think this trade shows me and shows a lot of NBA fans, those Knicks fans out there that still are hopeful Zion get traded, that they're not going to trade Zion. And maybe they do. Maybe in a minute, maybe today they trade Zion and boom, I'm wrong. But what this trade tells me is that they're going all in with the group they got. They got rid of some other small pieces that really don't mean much. And now you already have Brandon Ingram who's having a solid season. Zion's hurt, but once he comes back, we know what he's capable of. As long as he's in shape and he can play to his ability. Now you have CJ McCollum on top of that, and you're like, okay, you kind of have what it takes to be a solid team, because you have Zion, who's really solid when he's out there and healthy. Brandon Ingram, very good player. CJ McCollum's a good guard that could shoot and dish out assists, playmaker. And you have Jonas Valanciunas, who's a big that can shoot and get boards. Kind of got a complete roster. Kind of got a complete starting five. But what this trade tells me, not only does it tell me that the Zion whole rumors and the Pelicans are sold, and they're going to keep Zion, and they're going to keep him, and they're going to keep Brandon Ingram, and now they're just going to add on. And they're also, for a team that started the season so bad, right now, if the season would end today, they would be in a play-in series. They're 21-32, weaker in the West. The West is decently weak. They're not far out from maybe getting like an 8 seed. This shows me that they're going all in on the playoffs and all in on trying to win shortly here in the future. And they're going to do that with Brandon Ingram. Now you bring in, CJ McCollum, and you already have Zion. So those are your pieces. Jonas Valanciunas, another guy. You look at this. Like when they're healthy, you look at that starting five. You look at Valanciunas, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Zion Williamson. That's a pretty good starting five, if you ask me. Right now, though, they don't. CJ McCollum, you just got traded to them. This season, it's been Brandon Ingram, Jonas Valanciunas, and a couple other kind of fill-in pieces. You put those four guys together, and add another solid player to that rotation, you're going to have a really solid team. So I really like the CJ McCollum trade. A good fit for the Pelicans. But what this trade also tells me is it tells me that the Trailblazers are screaming, rebuild, 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 screaming, tear it all up. And what this tells me is that they are expecting, either they're expecting that Damian Lillard will leave them, or they're kind of trying to yell at Damian Lillard that's saying, look, your time here, your days are numbered here. I know Lillard has kind of said that he wants, has said that he's Trailblazers no matter what, but I can't see with them making this trade today, Damian Lillard being too happy to get what they got in return. I know they got some young guys, but I know they got some picks as well, but for Damian Lillard, who's a guy who at this time could go on a contending team and win and be a true force for a contending team, I could see Damian Lillard, whether it's soon, whether it's at the trade deadline, which I don't think he's going to get traded today, tomorrow, or Thursday. I don't think he's going to get traded this season. But this might tell us that Trailblazers are going all in on restarting. And that might include trading Damian Lillard. And I think what Damian Lillard sees out of this trade is, my days here are numbered in Portland, and fully expect Portland might not be a might not be a place where it looks so nice anymore, or I don't know, not great wording there, but where you have McCollum and Damian Lillard there, and you're like, oh, this team could do some damage. I think what this tells us is that Damian Lillard, I don't think he's going to be a Blazer for much longer, because I truly think now you're entering a rebuild. You want to just surround young guys, and Lillard might go to another contending team, maybe join a super team, maybe try to build a super team, just join another team in general, and be a force there. That's what I see. What's funny about this all is they're not crazy. It's like they're not fully out of the play-in series. And that just speaks more to me as a fan that says they're going through for a rebuild. Because if they weren't going for a rebuild and they were going all in for the playoffs, they would have never made this trade. But now that they're trying to, now that it seems like they're going to back off a little bit and rebuild, they're only a half game out of the play-in. So this tells me that they're going in for a rebuild and they're going to start to tear things up. And Damian Lillard might be on his way out sooner rather than later. So that's what I see. We also got some news too. This just popped up. Brooklyn Nets head coach Steve Nash said he thinks the roster will be the same after the trade deadline on Thursday. So it seems as if Nets aren't going to do anything, which I don't really get why, because we have Paul Millsap who we could just dump. We could not even just without the Harden trade, but we could use some other. We could do some other stuff, and we could get another shooter, defender. Unless if they're going all in with this, but we'll see. So, yeah, the Tyrese Halliburton trade. Tyrese Halliburton trade. CJ McCollum to the Pelicans. Sabonis to the Kings in that trade with the Halliburton. And then, let's see. And then you had the Caris LeVert trade on Sunday against the Cavs that kind of got us all started off. So, still a lot of trades. Knicks, there were, rumors about them going for Beal. Well, he's out for the rest of the season. rumors about them going for McCollum. Well, he's to the Pelicans. So who knows what the Knicks do. There was rumors about them going out for De'Aaron Fox. I, at this point, don't know what the Kings are going to do. Maybe the Kings are going to trade De'Aaron Fox for some old guy that, they think is going to be very good. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens with Julius Randle. And I think the Sixers truly want James Harden, but I don't think at all Harden's going to get traded. Philly wants him. They're pushing hard for him, but I don't think the Nets are going to trade him. Honestly, what I think is if we don't win a championship, Harden is not going to be a Net next season either way. I don't think he's going to re-sign with the Nets. I think he's going to go elsewhere. So that's what I see. Ben Simmons, too, I think stays put. I think the only way Simmons gets traded is if Harden gets traded, because I think Harden and Simmons are going to be in a package. That's what I ultimately see. So right now, if I had to tell you, Harden is out again tonight. I don't think Harden's getting traded. I think the Sixers and Simmons are going to stay put. And I think this is going to be something that you revisit in the offseason. Win a title, not win a title, something that you revisit in the offseason of what future is for Harden. Whether you just let him go in the free agency or try to get a sign-in trade, it's going to be something like that. So we'll see how it all plays out. But definitely some possibilities for other moves to go. And, still got the rest of today, all of Wednesday, and then into Thursday, which is the official NBA trade deadline. All right, so that's what I got for the NBA and the trade deadline update. Now let's get to some updates in the New York sports update and all that good stuff. We'll get to the NBA first. We just got done talking about it. A lot of games on tonight. 76ers, Suns, I'll give the Suns the win. Hawks, Pacers, give me the Hawks. Grizzlies, Clippers, I'll take the Grizzlies. Pelicans, Rockets, I'll take the Pelicans. Mavericks, Pistons, give me the Mavericks. Nuggets, Knicks, give me the Knicks. Or Nuggets, rather. Nuggets. Bucks, Lakers, give me the Bucks. Magic, Trailblazers, give me the Trailblazers. Even though they made the move today, Magic are not very good. They're terrible. Trailblazers aren't that bad. Timberwolves, Kings, I'll take the Timberwolves. We also got the Nets Celtics tonight. Nets come into this game 29-24, 8-game losing streak. Celtics come in this game 30-25. They're hot right now. They are on a winning streak of a 5-game winning streak. 30-25 got all the way up to the 8 seed. So really a possibility of them to continue to play. And I believe if they win tonight, they actually jump the Nets. So really, really, really playing really good basketball, playing their best basketball of the season. Celtics are 9-point favorites. Nets back home. So Nets are 9-point home dogs back at Barclays for the first time since the Sixers visited, I believe. Since that West Coast. Actually, no. When's the last time the Nets were home? Was it I forget. I completely forget. It's been so long because we've had the West Coast trip. It was the game against the Nuggets where we took the loss. So, first game in a while back home for the Nets, fresh off the West Coast road trip. The over-under is set at 212.5. This game goes on tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find this game on TNT. It is nationally televised, and you could also find it on Yes Network. And the percentages are not out yet of who people will think wins this game. I think the majority will pick the Celtics. No Harden, no Kyrie, no KD, no Big Three. Nets aren't winning this game. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it happening. Give me the Celtics, but I'm hopeful. Not really. I'm not that hopeful, but hopefully the Nets can pull it out. That's really all I say. And we'll see what they can do tonight back at home. As for today in the world of the NHL, we got the Capitals, Blue Jackets, I'll take the Capitals. Devils, Canadians, give me the Devils. Hurricane Senators, give me the Hurricanes. Bruins, Penguins, give me the Bruins. Jets, Wild, I'll take the Wild. Oilers, Golden Knights, I'll take the Golden Knights. And Coyotes, Canucks, give me the Canucks. And as for college basketball, got a good amount of games on tonight. If last night was a preview of what's to come this week, then it's going to be a pretty good week in basketball because two really good games last night. 69-68 win Virginia over Duke, and Texas beat Kansas 79-76. The other top 25 game wasn't great, 91-79 win Arizona over Arizona State, but the two big ones were really, really good. And that Kansas game, big win for Texas. Also very big win for the Virginia. Tonight we got UConn, Marquette. I'll take Marquette. Auburn, Arkansas, give me Auburn. Michigan State, Wisconsin, I'll take Wisconsin. Villanova, St. John's, give me Villanova. Purdue, Illinois, give me Purdue. USC Pacific, give me USC. St. Mary's and Santa Clara, give me St. Mary's. And UCLA, Stanford, I'll take UCLA. So some really good games on tonight. Purdue, Illinois. Villanova, St. John's is big. Michigan State, Wisconsin's big. Marquette, UConn's big. Kentucky also plays tonight on the road in South Carolina against the Gamecocks. Kentucky's 5-point favorites, or I apologize. Kentucky's the 5th-ranked team in the nation. They come into this game 19-4. South Carolina come into this game 13-9. Kentucky's 10.5-point favorites. The over/under set at 144.5. This game goes on tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. And the percentages are not out yet of who will win this game. I'll take Kentucky, and I think they win. I think they'll win pretty convincing. Might not be the prettiest win ever, but I'll take Kentucky on the road against South Carolina. Give me Kentucky. As for fantasy basketball, I'm currently winning 150-116. Today I've got going, well, not anymore, but Buddy Hield, he got traded, so he won't be in tonight. But Brandon Ingram, John Collins, Nikola Jokic, Desmond Bane, Rashawn Holmes, and John Morant. As we all know, Buddy Hield got traded, so he won't be in tonight. Darius Garland's still out with the back. He's questionable for tomorrow's game. John Collins is still today. He is probable for Tuesday's game against the Pacers, so his heel injury should be all healed up. He's probable for tonight's game. So those are your updates there. And yeah, that will do it for the podcast today. Another good one in the books, about a 51-minute one, so a little bit longer than usual, but a podcast nonetheless. And yeah, tomorrow will be another short podcast, probably just another quick 20, 25-minute, 30-minute podcast, anywhere within that range. Going to get to the Bengals defensive overview. Thursday should be a normal one like today, Friday as well. So Thursday will be it's Rams defensive overview. And Friday, unless if anything crazy happens in the world of sports, I plan on just talking about the Super Bowl. I might only do like a 30-minute video on the Super Bowl and just strictly talk about the Super Bowl, to be honest. Just give you my keys to the game pick, and all that stuff. Comment down below what you think about that. Friday, I could do a long pod, but I might just keep it, do a quick 30-minute video strictly on the Super Bowl and, leave, give you my game pick and head into the weekend. That's what I think I might do. So, comment down below what you think about that. But anyway, that'll do it. Another good podcast in the books, as always. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.